Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri. Today I wanted to talk about building out a vision for a team, a department, and a corporation here at different levels. I'm going to use my drawing board a little bit today. I'm feeling a little bit like I need to draw and teach like I'm on my whiteboards back in the office. Today we're going to be talking about vision. I think this is an absolute critical aspect here, a lot for senior management, but also understanding this from an employee level, mid-level manager level, right? You can always have your own personal vision as well building through this. So keep that in mind, but I'm going to talk about this more from a senior management level, an executive level of building out division for a department, more specifically like a risk division, but also looking at this from a big corporate level here. So when you start a new role and you're in a corporation itself, you have to first figure out what is the company's goal, or more specifically, what is the vision they have? Like, where are they headed? Are they trying to be the world's largest bank? Are they trying to be the world's most advanced fintech? Are they supposed to be focusing on AI? Or are they supposed to be focusing on quantum computing or machine learning? Or just getting quality loan with good customer service of a product through the door, right? It doesn't really matter what the vision and goal is here, but understanding that at the beginning and understanding how you fit into that here. Because I imagine this here like a giant puzzle, right? You have some giant puzzle here. In your department, your small team, your individuality here is going to be nothing more than one of these puzzle pieces. And so having this puzzle piece that you're trying to fit in here, one of the biggest mistakes I see is people come to a firm and they have a personal vision, a personal goal, and they try to force that onto the company or to the department they're in. And they say, we are going to be here. We're going to be here within the next 3 years. And they fail to look at the puzzle around them and figure out like where all of these other pieces that are going to be in this blue area fit and how you fit into that in sort of the things that you have to deal with here. So let's just put in here a few things to consider. One's going to be resources. So I've been at companies that have had enormous budgets for things to happen, lots of staff, lots of people. Again, I'm going to say resources. I'm going to put this as dollars. That's what we're talking about as well. But more importantly is going to be skills, right? If you're on a team and you're on a winning team and you're looking around the company and every team's got a lot of people that are just really qualified, smart experts in the field, it's very, very easy to pick a very large vision for your team, your division, your corporation, and get there quickly with good expectations it's going to happen versus, you look around and you're like, well, we've got a bunch of pockets and missing pieces. Often part of your vision is going to be actually filling in these pieces here. So keep this in mind because part of your vision might need to be a resource correction to fix a piece that needs to get put into that. The second main piece I'm going to put in here is going to be alignment. So I have seen companies that have very pie in the sky goals that are just not aligned with the company's actual goal, which is kind of odd to say. So I work in quantitative risk management on the quant side of this. For those of you that don't watch this channel regularly, that just means I build math and statistical models and AI and ML and a lot of these tools that all work together to solve business problems. And so often people say, Dimitri, we want the sparkliest, shiniest new object out there. We want, agentic AI. We want full layers, this, that, and the other. And you start to look at the firm and you're like, these things don't really align with what you're doing as a core business, or there's an enormous gap that needs to get filled here. And getting that alignment is critical. If your goal and you understand your vision of you need to get people through to a very specific end piece, and that end goal for you, like a 5-year goal, is nowhere near where they're wanting you to go, this lack of alignment can create issues. Even on a departmental level, right? Maybe the whole company has one big goal and you align well with it, but if other departments aren't going to align with that goal and can't provide those resources in that process or aren't willing to change their vision and their alignment, you're going to run into a lot of issues here. The second piece is going to be planning a vision in steps. So I see a lot of senior management leadership fail in the sense that they have some sort of vision and they're like, all right, team, go ahead. Get us to that vision. Good luck, managers. And like executive teams will just kick out employees and be like, good luck, figure it out. Right? That's not helpful. That's not a vision. That's like a dream. Like you're not planning, you're not putting the pieces together. For those of you that don't know, like the way a corporation actually works is executive teams and senior management, they're really there to plan, guide, lead, and support. They're actually the support team for the individual contributors actually doing the work. So they're the ones that need to be there to help guide and put the resources in place so they can get their jobs done much more efficiently and have good, employee satisfaction and get things done. So having some sort of vision and breaking that into chunks and steps along the way is critical. I had a video probably this last year in the fall sometime. I went to AI4 conference and I talked about maximizing ROI on AI projects, specifically like targeting a little bit of the Gen AI, because that was the hypey thing to talk about. But just in general, like model development, implementing technology of predictive models and analytics and resources tied to these sorts of things like data infrastructure and engineering and all that has to pipeline and feed that. Having steps on how you get through that when that presentation was talking about how do you plan the resources to get there and how do you make sure you have all these in chunks and pieces? Because if you get the cart in front of the horse here, it's often a nightmare to fix a lot of these things with employee issues, because now you have one team that's up here running and now they're upset and they get disgruntled with the firm and the company and other departments because the other teams aren't keeping up. And there's a bunch of issues that can happen with this. So in general, having some sort of vision here and having steps of where you're going to be at and how you're going to put them down. I will put the caveat here of don't be super specific. And what I mean by this is I've had a lot of managers over the years that will say, Dimitri, we need to get from point A to point B, build me out the entire plan and bring it back. And so I'll bring it out and say, okay, we're going to start off with some strategy of doing this. And then we're going to increase resources by hiring 2 or 3 people here. And then once this team gets built up and running, that's going to support the original team and that'll be more efficient. And then we can come back in and we can layer on like new quantitative research, for example, and we can bring in the quantitative research team, which will then backfeed the development team. And then we can put in like the risk governance and like, the policies and procedure pieces need to get put into this and thought about this as a long-term plan. And so you have these kind of steps and processes here. That's what I'm talking about. The thing that drives me nuts is when people say, okay, great, so you have this plan. This is not a plan. I need exact dates on exactly when you're going to hit all of these things, because I'm going to tell you what happens. And I've talked to probably hundreds of people at this point in senior roles about this, and it drives them nuts as well. People will say like, okay, give me an exact date when you're going to hit everything. And you're like, all right, great. So you put it all out. 90% of the time you miss dates. Large percentage of dates. And I absolutely hate it when management comes back and says, well, it's fine if you miss a date. Just tell me if you're going to miss a date before you miss the date. The reason people miss dates, if you're not aware, is because you typically have an issue. And that issue is going to be either skills that we listed up here, or it's going to be capital. And that is going to be a pain in the backside because either you don't have the money on your team to get it done. So I see a lot of people say, we'll give you anything you want. Just get this done and deliver it and push it across the line. And then when it comes to like, hey, I need an extra $250,000 to bring on 2 people to do this. Oh, no, that wasn't in the January budget. And you're looking at it like, no, but that's in my budget and plan for the vision process. And I had in there that I would potentially need to hire these if these other departments couldn't patch these gaps. And so you end up in these big conundrums where it's like your department is dependent on other departments. So skills ties into this. Maybe your team needs training and skills. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of companies hate paying for training. I don't know why. I would much rather take a really good quality employee that shows up on time, respectful, fits in the team well, and has a lot of the core basic skills, and then add those skills on top. But what ends up happening is we often have politics. So I'm going to put on here, politics gets in the way. And those politics is why I'm missing those deadlines. And so what you're doing now is you're squeezing me into this box and you're yelling and screaming often in these meetings because you have to hit this deadline. You promised me you would hit this deadline. And I'm looking at you like I'm about to just punch you in the face because we've already been over this discussion 10, 20, 30 times. I don't have the support. I don't have the skills. I don't have the people. You need to get rid of these people in this department. They need to get replaced. And as I start building out this entire plan to explain to them how to fix it, everybody gets their feelings hurt, right? Because nobody wants to hear that these other teams are the excuses, right? Dimitri, it's nothing but excuses. So I'm going to tell you, I like to be specific enough to have the plan and have the design, but you have to realize putting very specific dates on things and getting them very, very tight makes this process very stressful. It creates management, including myself, that starts to push out and says like, hey, if you want these, then you're going to have to make other calls or decisions and you have to cut people or move people or make alignments. And this is really what an executive team needs to get done in senior management. if you're going to reach these visions and these goals you have to be strong. You have to have some sort of organization and process, and you have to be able to make hard decisions in that. And that is going to lead us to our third piece here with vision, which is going to be management style. And management style, I'm going to tell you, there's kind of a spectrum with this. So on one hand, I see stability, and I have no idea why I'm writing in all caps today. Stability, and then you have tough love. That's what I'm going to call it here. And I've seen management teams fail because they end up typically too far in either direction. So you're really going to want to be in some sweet spot here. Now, where exactly these little edge pieces are depends on the company, the firm, the design, the industry. Like, there's a bunch of things. These aren't easy to nail down. But I'll tell you the two kind of scenarios here I've seen a lot that are common pitfalls in the management style here with getting to that sort of management and getting these visions built out and executed upon. And it's going to be the stability piece of companies that they're so happy in what they're doing. They're so relaxed, as we talked about kind of at the goals above. Like, there's no timelines, there's no deadlines, but nobody's held accountable. Everybody enjoys working there because everyone's just kind of floating along. And they're the top performers, those that are really like hitting the ground running, that want to get these things done, don't tend to make it, because those that are like really wanting to hit deadlines and drive and run to things, like myself often, I leave. I can't handle just floating and hoping like, it's happy-go-lucky and something great will happen one day. But on the flip side of that, right, it's nice to have stability in the sense of you realize that if you come to work, you do your best, you do well, you're always going to have this job, right? You like to have that sort of stability, and you need that in a quality team. You need trust and transparency. And when senior management and management teams break this trust, it creates a lack of stability, and team members start to bounce and jump. And often, even in management side, on the flip side, so let's go to the other side of tough love. Tough love is when you have to make hard decisions to restructure and align teams here. Now, when you do the tough love, it can be the opposite of stability, because like when you do layoffs, for example, which I've been through companies with multiple rounds of layoffs before, being in the layoffs group, if there's not transparency on what is happening, like, these people that are not productive are being let go. Like, if that's not the memo that's going out, or, we had to cut because of, budgets, or like the company's size scaled back, we didn't have enough volume last year, we don't have enough work for everybody. You need transparency. When you don't have transparency, then it just comes off as unstable, and it comes off as people are aggressive. But as I'm talking through this, when you start to put the vision and the company goals together as well, you have to quickly identify who is going to make it, who's not going to make it in a long run perspective. And this is critical. You cannot set these deadlines so tight that you're churning employees, because imagine above, like I say, okay, we have this deadline, we have to hit it by the 15th. And I need a better person in this position in this other team to help support our team. Or my employee needs to get this done, but my employee can't do it. So guess what? I'm going to cut that employee, or I'm going to cut the person in the other department and put somebody else in. If you do that too fast, right, one, you're going to be lacking the stability portion, and often you will fall outside of that sweet spot, little pink box here we're talking about, and you'll be in this space that other people that are great employees are doing amazing, and you're like, you're doing a great job, you want to pat them on the back. They're going to be nervous, and they're going to jump ship. They're not going to stick around long term. So it has, wave effects. Like, it impacts the entire team and structure here. So you need to be transparent, but you also need to have that balance of stability of like, okay, can we train this person to get them to that better position? Or like, how do I patch that gap, right? Maybe it's bringing someone in above them and helping that person manage down to them. Maybe it's just having another team member on their team, on a different team, cross-training them. Maybe it's paying for skills and training. Maybe it's just something as simple, though tough to do, of having a conversation saying, hey, we really appreciate the work you're doing. But given the goals and given what we need to do, I need you to be able to, either generate more work per hour, or I need you to be able to add this new skill to your skill set. Or it could be a personal skill. Like, I need you to listen and take direction better from other teams. We're getting a lot of complaints and things just aren't clicking the way they should be clicking here. And I know it's hard, and you can rebuttal a little bit. Like, I know it's hard to work with these teams and they can be arrogant or difficult or whatever. But we really need to get that along, because that's really looking bad on our team because we're having a few issues here. So there's kind of this balance here. And I think a lot of people tend, for some reason, to kind of like, it's like a point where tips tends to fall all the way to the tough love, and they think like, I'm going to be a Wall Street veteran and I'm going to show these guys how to do it. And if people don't deliver and they don't give me results, I'm going to show them, which drives me nuts. And on the other side, you have the stability side, which also drives me nuts, which is like, everybody's trying, their best and everyone's a winner here. And it's okay that we missed our goal for the 16th time in a row. It's no big deal. It'll just get better next year. Having that sort of balance here in that process and that management style in itself and in that senior leadership position builds trust for the teams below you, and that often turns into great quality work and people that just stick with you through the entire process here. So those are kind of things I see within the vision. Again, looking at the vision as well, making sure that you have realistic goals to get there. One of the parts I didn't talk about, which is going to be having expertise in that space, in your space, right? You can't join a company as an executive or a senior manager or a mid-level manager or anything and not know the material well enough and then be able to create that vision here. Creating that vision takes expertise. It takes alignment, as we talked about. It takes planning. It takes steps. It takes working with all the different departments and people and putting all the pieces together. And then again, making sure that all aligns back to the corporate goal so that you're all getting things done. There's nothing worse when somebody comes in with an individual vision and it does not align with the company, other teams, and they're off running in their own direction. You end up wasting a ton of time and a ton of money. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of teams end up hating that team and that leader and the people in it because of it there. So anyways, these are my tips on how to build out a team vision in itself. I will tell you there's no magical vision that like every company should have. So I can't tell you like, if you're going to work in a quant fund, like an investment firm or a bank or a fintech, like this is the vision you should have. Your competitive edge, the company's way that it operates is going to change how you build out that vision and how you put the pieces together. But kind of following these guidelines of how to put it together and keeping in mind the steps, the management style, as well as the company as a whole will kind of help you get there quicker and more efficiently. But it does take quite a bit of time to kind of read out a company when it's a new job. So anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.